Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Theater 1, where indeed I'm going to try to explain to you how we redefined, challenged, and revised our way to train Toyota technicians in maintaining and repairing our fleet. So I'm Stefan. I am part of the technical training team within Toyota Motor Europe, and I've been doing that for quite a while. And we've been challenged a couple of years ago, and the result I'll explain to you. Before we really start, I'd like to ask you a question. What word pops into your mind when you see our logo? Give me one. Come on. Sorry? Didn't hear you. A toy. Anything else? Anything else you can think of? What does this label represent to you? Nobody? It's really hard to hear you. Reliability, which I'm looking for a specific word, of course, which translates, I hope, into quality. We at Toyota like to believe that we are perceived as a company that delivers a high quality in vehicles. However, quality for us is not just quality is not just about designing and building and manufacturing a car. For us, quality means something more. We've got two pillars supporting that. One being the car that we sell, but the other being the customer service that follows after the sale. And we have a whole pack of people that represent us in doing that customer quality. And we need to train them. And for that, we have developed something special. I am part of the customer service group myself. And in that customer service group, we live according to a philosophy. And really, it's a strategy. We believe that if you're very accurate in what you do, and you show your customers that you care, you gain their trust. And trust is an essential part of any type of relationship, as well as a business relationship. So a long-lasting business relationship, you also need to have that trust factor. And this is what we strive to do. Technicians also need to be trained in accuracy and caring for vehicles. And we do that using a program, a technical education program that we call Team 21. The challenge for Team 21 is to get everybody aligned with that same standard, using those same materials. Now, Europe is quite big for us all. However, in terms of vehicle sales, it's actually a smaller part of the Toyota Motor Corporation. So we don't sell that many vehicles when you compare it to the eastern side, Japan and so on, or America. However, Europe is one of the most challenging markets out there. And Toyota Motor Europe represents no less than 30 national marketing and sales companies, which cover 56 countries, ranging from Iceland across the UK to Spain, Portugal, Greece, Israel, and even all the way to Kazakhstan. So that's a lot of different cultures. And in those cultures, we have about 19,000 technicians that need to be trained to handle that fleet the same way. And that's our biggest challenge. How do we build a package, a curriculum that covers everybody's needs? Our first point when we started developing, was, okay, let's examine what's going on inside the workshop. And the outcome was very clear. Even though you need in the workshop a person that's highly skilled, highly qualified to repair any type of difficulty that might arise, bulk of the work is maintenance. 85% of what goes on in our workshop is simple maintenance programs. So when we started designing our Team 21 for the first time in 2005, we focused mainly on that maintenance program. In 2005, we launched the Team 21 program version 1, and it had abandoned the normal classroom training, the normal academic approach, if you will, and it was job-based. So specifically, what does the technician need to do? We'll train him on that. And we differentiated between 4 different types of technicians. The first two levels are maintenance and repair. And in that part, you focus on efficiency. You want the car to be maintained very well, but at a high efficiency rate. When it comes to customer service, though, the next two levels are the moment of truth. The next two levels are diagnostic. You have a Toyota diagnosis technician and a master technician, and they need to be able to tackle any type of problem. It's a minority of the technicians, but they do exist. They are needed. We need them out there. In 2005, we launched this program, and it was classroom training only. It was about 3,500 slides of specific classroom training. And it is still the backbone of the Team 21 program. But about 2 years later, we added a e-learning component. That component was a duplication of the classroom training. So you had those slides, and we translated that into a complete full e-learning package, which was online available. Allowed us blended e-learning, parts which you could do at home, parts which need to be done in the classroom, and then a certification program on top of that. We allowed about 3 years to go by before we started examining who in our network is actually following this protocol, is following our standards. The outcome wasn't that good. For e-learning in 2008, result was quite little. Classroom trainings, okay, we're getting there, but it took another 3 years to get everybody on board. By 2011, we had convinced everyone that this package was the one to follow and that they could teach their technicians how to work on our cars. But that's a long time. Launching in 2005, ending up in 2011 to actually have everybody on board. Nevertheless, we were happy they were on board. And as we started looking at what's going on, challenges came. 6 years had gone by. So we have this version 1 program, but a lot of stuff's coming up. Our first main concern was the fact that it was already out of date. Technology evolves fast, extremely fast. I'll give you an example. A hybrid vehicle is rocket science in 2005, but by 2011, we had sold 3.5 million of these vehicles. So this comes to the second part of the out of date. In 2005, we told diagnostic master technicians, how do you work on a hybrid vehicle? But the other levels, the levels below that, had no clue. They didn't need to. It was rocket science. There was only one of these cars going to come in once every month. By 2011, it's a daily thing. And hybrid vehicle maintenance needs to happen by a maintenance guy. So all this information is in the wrong place. And it's out of date. Due to the fact that the package is that big, there were classroom trainings of 220 slides, which lasted for several days. There was no way to have that actually modularized, to bring small packages and move them around. The structure was what it was, and you couldn't just easily update things and move things. Second of all, you did have that whole e-learning online, but also in that same rigid structure. And an e-learning is not just a preparation for technicians. No, it also needs to be something you can refer back to. If you know, or if you have a question, you want to be able to go to that e-learning, a specific e-learning, and learn quickly, right, this is how that works, which was impossible in the structure that we currently had. Then it comes down to certification. We had a certification program every 3 years. You have to go through all the tests again. And many HR programs have that type of thing, but does that really make sense? If you're working in that job day to day, you're going to keep that experience that you have, so why do you need to recertify? If you compare it to a medical doctor, do you go to your medical doctor and you say, well, when did you last certify? Did you take all your exams again last week, or has it been a couple of years? He doesn't need to. As long as he keeps updated and he keeps with the track of new things, he stays qualified within his job. And then the fourth big challenge that we had was that we couldn't have any detailed reports. If granularity is not part of the basic package, then there's no software that can help you to find a detailed report. And we discovered that we didn't know if a certain subsystem, a technical part of a car, was actually being trained, or where it was being trained and when it was being trained. There was no way for us to discover that. And those were the challenges that we faced. So realizing those, we went back to the drawing board. Team 21 needed to be revisited. And at Toyota, we believe that it's imperative that you go to the source. So instead of only listening to our business side, we went to our customers as well. We went down to the technicians, we went down to the NMSCs, the trainers that delivered the training, and of course we talked to the request from our business side. And the advantage is clear. You speak from a common baseline and you start developing a new approach. The outcome was clear. We need to develop a modular-driven competency program. A modular competency-driven program. The question we ask ourselves is, can the member successfully complete the task according to the set criteria? A competency we divided into 3 basic parts: knowledge competencies, skill competencies, or attitude competencies. And with that question that we asked ourselves, we made a full description of what every technician needs to know. You've got these 4 levels: Toyota Pro, Diagnostic, and Diagnostic Master. And we made a full description of what he needs to know. And we did that using learning objectives. And these became the building stone of our new program. I'll use an example to elaborate. I'll come back to, the hybrid part. So this is Team 21 version 1. Big packages, and there is this package that teaches a technician what he needs to know about a hybrid vehicle. It's at the top level. By 2011, you need that all over the place. So what did we do? We took that hybrid component and we split it up and made about 170 different learning objectives. This is everything there is to know about a hybrid vehicle. And we covered every one of those learning objectives with PowerPoint slides, with e-learning pages, and, very important, a question or a skill assessment. It's very compact. There was no more, at no given point did we allow the PowerPoint slides to reach more than 10 for a certain learning objective. Usually it's about 2-3 slides, that's it. Small part. Now imagine at the end of that, we split up everything, not just hybrid, petrol engines, diesel engines, NVH. All those different specialties were split up. And you get a big pile of little building blocks. And we used those building blocks and started combining them again, but keeping their availability to be changed, keeping their independence. The example continues on the screen, and you can see that within Toyota Technician, Pro Technician, and so on, you get these small modules, which are comprised of those learning objectives. And the whole package evolved from a linear field to a matrix that's built out of different layers for different levels with all these small building blocks. To manage all that, we had to build our own tool because it didn't exist. In Access, we built a content management tool. And that tool allows us, it's actually the link between all these learning objectives. We've got these small building blocks, we build things with those, and the content management tool keeps track of that. And it tracks all changes, and it allows us at any given time to take one building block out of one group, one module, and then move that to another. So if at a certain stage we decide, give the example, a hybrid vehicle, how does that need to be disabled? It's a learning objective. We need the diagnosis technician know that? No. From now on, it is the pro technician that needs to know that. We just take it and replace it. And automatically, the whole curriculum is updated. So everything is being kept track of in this content management tool. A little bit behind the scene, you can see, but you can't read it, of course, a little bit too small, but you can see that there's a tree form, and every level has groups below that, and every group has got these learning objectives. And the learning objectives got all these details, and there's PowerPoints attached to it, there's questions attached to it, and the content management tool combines all that into one database. The question point is, how do we now assess our technicians? Whenever a technician starts a new step in his education toward the next level, or just the level that he's in, we have him do an assessment. An assessment that's based from all these questions that we have from every one of those learning objectives. The ones that are important are built into a pool. We take some of those and we have them do that on the LMS online. As soon as he completes that assessment, the LMS will feed back to him, okay, you have passed all these, so you're clearly qualified in that area, but these questions you didn't pass. And the LMS will refer him back to e-learnings, specific small e-learnings that cover the information that he clearly has a gap in, the things that he does not know. And he only needs to complete those in order to certify to the next level. He can then choose, okay, I'm going to do these online, I'm going to follow the e-learnings, or if we do, with our reports, see that, okay, there's many technicians that have a problem with that specific part, we will install a classroom training and they can register that as well. Sorry. So, did that solve the problem that we have? I'm happy to say yes, because first problem we did have, out of date. No, not anymore. First of all, we redeveloped the whole Team 21. It is now up to date, but we built in a possibility to update at any given time. We can put in new learning objectives. We can replace them. We can delete them if they're no longer valid, and it only takes a few seconds because we can go to that specific component of the curriculum and just adjust it. That fits directly into the second problem that we have, the rigid structure. No longer there. Learning objectives can be grouped in various modules in infinite variations. We can basically allow a completely different package for Toyota technicians versus Lexus technicians. It's all based upon the same curriculum, but we split it up if necessary. And we can keep playing with that, with these building blocks as we see fit. For detailed reports, once you know which learning objective is where, you can also track when it is trained, and we have the question pool that tells us whether technicians actually know what's in that learning objective. And the LMS now allows us to get a very detailed view on who knows what, where, and when. So we can grab all that immediately from the system. How about recertification? That was not solved immediately in this program, so we had a second view. And even though the 3-year certification still exists, we added a maintenance component to that. So instead of just having technicians recertified after 3 years, we're going to launch a maintenance package every year. Every year in September, we will put out there all the new technology of the last year, new learning objectives, new PowerPoint slides, new parts of e-learning, and that update package will immediately change our curriculum. But we're not just going to launch it inside the curriculum, no, we're going to launch it separately as well. So a separate e-learning, a separate classroom training if necessary, that technicians can join, and as long as they complete the maintenance curriculum, pass the assessment, we will add a year to their certification. Which in basic means if they keep on doing it themselves, keep themselves updated, keep themselves informed of the latest technology, their certification will never expire. One of the key messages as well of our story is the way we approached this update. If you go back to a couple of slides, I told you that it took almost 6 years for version 1 to get everybody on board. 2005 the launch, we added some components, yes, but it took until 2011 before everybody actually was with their nose in the same direction. And that had a lot to do with how we implemented. When designing version 2, we got everybody involved from the very first minute. So from the very first stage, the content development, we had all our customers help us in reviewing. They helped us design the new system. We also employed an outside company just to have a little checkup as a sanity check for ourselves. Is what we're making, is what we're doing really applicable? The answer was yes. And because we involved them every single time, there was no need to convince them of the validity of the program. Everybody was on board. Everybody already had knowledge of the program, what it contained, and they were all sharing the same opinion. Okay, we achieved something marvelous. We achieved something that will really work. That gave us the following result, that we implemented this new program in less than 1 year. So previously more than 6 or about 6 years, and now in 1 year's time almost everybody is rolling out or has already everything online. So they're all on board getting it right. And that feeds directly into our philosophy. We had accuracy in designing it. We involved everybody, showed them that we care, and we gained their trust that this program is going to work. So we have them on board. That's about it. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Raise your hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. That was very interesting.
Okay, thank you.
Regards the assessment process,
Uh-huh.
I presume that assesses their knowledge on the LMS.
Yes, that's correct.
I've got 2 questions about that. One is, how do you invigilate the person is who they say they are? And secondly, how do you assess their skill?
Skill assessments are a separate part, and skill assessment have to happen in a training center. So within the content management tool, we don't just have questions. The questions can be answered online, but there's a whole package of skill assessments as well. And depending from country to country, they attack this differently. But I've got a few examples of people that, countries that actually install a certification week. So there's a whole week in the training center when technicians can join the trainers, and everything is set up. So they have their cars with faults and so on, and they just run through skill assessments. It doesn't need to take very long. The technician comes in, an hour or an hour and a half, does his skill assessment, everything gets checked, and if he passes, he can be on his way and he will be certified. Verification of having the right person at the computer is quite hard, but we actually rely on our NMSCs and our dealership principals, the workshop supervisors, to work correctly. In any case, an assessment is only online for a certain amount of time, so we monitor that. There's a limited amount of time in which you can do it, and it would be very hard to do all the assessments if it's not the actual person that's doing that. And they have to log in, of course, with their own login credentials. It wouldn't make much sense to have one person do all of that. But in fact, if you really want to cheat, you could. But it would take effort, much more than actually learning the program. You're welcome. Any other questions? Yeah. Oh.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, great presentation.
Thank you.
In your, what looked like a competency framework for the technicians, you reference skill, knowledge, and also attitude. Could you give us some examples of typical attitude traits you're looking for, and again, how you assess against those?
The same thing. Attitude for us is also a skill. So it will be checked through a different worksheet, a check sheet, really. And people just need to attack a certain problem, a car, with a positive attitude. But not just the car. Naturally, there's also the customer-facing part. Technicians these days need to be in line with the customers, and they need to talk to them. For diagnosis purposes, it's very important that you get the customer's view on what the problem might be. And that gets trained and then assessed through workshops and so on. And there's always the mystery customer as well, of course, but that's not within this program. Welcome.
Any more questions?
Yeah, again, thank you very much. That was really good. How do you actually get buy-in from your people to take part?
We first of all, we went to them. The first thing we did was talk to them. And we asked, what are your problems with version 1? How do you feel? And of course, always comes up, it takes too much time. Technicians need to be in the classroom too much, and they need to be in the workshop. So that's one of them. But we asked many questions. We went to talk to almost every country on the list. And in every country, we went to talk to dealerships and technicians. And because we did that, the outcome was agreed upon. And then we communicated what we had found as being, okay, this is the outcome of our investigation. Do you agree? So at constant level that we talked to them. First it was on SharePoint, then it was through the LMS. Continuously updating. And then we launched, as we launched content, we developed that in-house with Toyota, in Toyota. But every part got sent out to every one of those NMSCs. So at every given time, they were able to review. We chased them to review, actually. Not just asking them, but no, okay, we need your review, we need your opinion. And each and every one of those trainers got feedback on what we had developed, which means they were really engaged and they were happy with it. Because every change that they presented, if we found it to be valid, we implemented that again. So with a constant back and forth of designing that whole package. And that, without a doubt, gets them totally involved into the program. Okay.
Anybody else? Hello? Yeah. Okay, sorry.
No problem.
Thanks for the presentation. I think that was really good. I'll just stay away from the mic. You mentioned there were several countries involved in the rollout. So how did you manage the translation, especially with the content as well as the LMS side of it? Was it
yes.
easy, or
we had a company, of course, doing the translations for us. We had a partner in that. But translations are very tricky and very expensive. So yes, each stage of the translations, the countries also reviewed. So once again, not just content building, but the NMSCs, the countries that spoke the languages, also reviewed after that another stage when translations needed to happen. The bulk was translated through the company, and then they corrected all the faults in it. And then it came back again.
Anyone? Any other question? Should we call it off? It's okay. Well, thank you, Stefan. That was wonderful.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day, Dom.